Hi, thanks for joining us. We wanted to bring some information to you. There's something that's not really being talked about much today, and that's the amount of home mortgages that are delinquent, and actually a very alarming number that are in foreclosure. And I think that through the last couple of years, we haven't seen this. And though it's not something good to talk about, I think it's important to talk about, because what we've experienced over the last 18 months, 2 years, has been a short inventory that has been one of the driving forces that has caused home prices and even rental prices to skyrocket. And because we haven't had a whole lot of availability of homes for sale or for rent, for that matter, with a lot of the landlords not being able to sell or evict their tenants. It's kind of been a lot of incorrect data that is out there. We want to just kind of bring some of this data to you here in this video, but we also want to talk about how that will impact the amount of foreclosures that I believe that we're going to see here in the next 12 to 18 months is really going to adjust the amount of for sale inventory that we haven't seen as a result of foreclosure.
We were able to access a national delinquency survey from Mortgage Bankers Association. We're going to be pulling on that with some statistics in just a little bit, but this is very true. And this is, the numbers are really backing up what we're saying, is that there is going to be inventory on the market.
Okay, yeah, we'll jump right into the stats, Melissa, but before, let's just talk about foreclosure and what that means. So essentially, a foreclosure is when the borrower or the homeowner defaults on the loan from their lender. And the federal law protects homeowners from foreclosure until they get to more than 90 days past due. So what that means is they actually start entering the foreclosure process in month 4, where they are notified from the lender that the foreclosure process is starting. This is actually a public notice. So a lot of the data that we're going over when we're dealing with the stats behind us is from the Mortgage Bankers Association. And they are actually pulling information from the loan servicers. And so a lot of the numbers that we're going to look at are even on the low side or on the conservative side, because right now, as we look at the chart here, which is from the end of Q1 22, which is the end of March, it shows that there's about 33,842 mortgages that we're going to be referencing here with the percentages. The actual number of home mortgages is about 50 million in the US today. And when we're talking about inventory being short, I don't have exact data to go by, because depending on where you're pulling your information and who you're listening to, we're somewhere about 900,000 homes short of the current demand, which is driving the prices in this, this price war that we've been seeing. We know that there's over 1 million starts, in new construction, like 1.3 million starts in new construction. So we know that the current demand has really been pressured by more than just one thing. What we're talking about, delinquencies and foreclosures coming down the road, is just one piece of the puzzle. The inventory shortage has also been driven by supply shortages. The builders and renovators being able to get the product to the public to be able to buy in the first place. And then also, there are a lot of landlords that were really constrained by not being able to evict non-paying tenants. They're in the process now. They're just getting tenants out that haven't been paying. And a lot of this inventory, we think, will come to market, because a lot of people that were on the fence of whether they should be landlording at all, a lot of these people are deciding, it wasn't for me or isn't for me. And we think that a lot of that inventory is going to come on the market too. But let's just kind of dive in. So what we're talking about here is the delinquencies in the mortgage as a sampling, a very good sampling from the Mortgage Bankers Association.
And it's just something to be noted, the CARES Act, which protected people from not being able to pay their mortgage. So the foreclosure moratorium actually ended on July 31st, 21, and then it went into the hands of the state, and then each made their own local decision. But now things are, in motion.
Right. They gave the governors the ability to have the executive decision as to, what that state would, extend beyond that for the moratoriums for not only the eviction process, but they could extend, timeframes for foreclosures and things like that. And when we're talking about foreclosures, there's judicial and non-judicial. And so, if you're really wanting to deep dive into your state as to, more information, we'll have some below in the show notes. We have some links for you to check out. But let's just kind of go over some of the data right now. So just to understand the columns that we're showing you, this is the total amount of loans from this sampling of 39 million out of approximately 50 million loans. So very good sampling. The percentage of loans past due in a seasonably adjusted rate. Okay, and seasonally adjusted means that they keep in consideration, and especially in Q1, which is what we're really giving you comparisons here in the prior years, they consider things like delinquencies that have fallen because people overspent maybe for holiday spending and things like that. When we're looking at the mortgages seriously delinquent, okay, this is really mortgages that are over 90 days, that are really in that position of where they're at the point of foreclosure starts. And this is non-seasonally adjusted, so very good, accurate percentage here for you to understand. And then mortgages foreclosures started, where they're now sending out the letters to start the process. And then mortgage foreclosure inventory by percentage for non-seasonally adjusted. Again, a very good rate to go by. And what this means is that this is the amount of inventory, from our understanding, looking at the information, that hasn't hit the street yet, okay? But the servicers have stopped, the foreclosure process is underway, and the lenders are getting their properties, their assets back from the borrower. In a lot of cases, the borrower is still living in the house. Okay, so what we're talking about, and guys, this is terrible. I mean, foreclosure, for whatever reason, we know that the economy, for some, there were a lot of people that were struggling even going into the pandemic. And yes, we've propped them up through this period, but a lot of people just still haven't recovered. And then we do, unfortunately, every single year, we're going to get into some of these normal foreclosure rates, or if there is a normal, but understand that this is a big number, and we're going to go into that. So the 0.53% at the end of Q1 was the amount of foreclosures, and these homes are going to hit the market. And just to give you an idea, guys, of what that means, that 0.53 is about 208,000 homes that will be soon hitting the market. Whether the new owner, the lender, is going to, sell it to a, more of a wholesale buyer where they would deal with any, previous owner still living in the house and evict them, or whether they will find that the property has been vacated, and a lot of lenders will go in and maybe do some upgrades and put it to more of a retail market, but a big number.
Yeah, Todd, I'm going to say, 208,000 is a really large number. You look at that all over the whole country. That is substantial, and it's going to be making a huge difference.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about maybe 900,000 in shortage of homes.
I know.
So you take all of this, and what we've been saying all along is that there's reasons for the inventory shortage. So, a lot of people want to think that we are in a high population growth, and we're actually not. We're in a shrinking population, and yes, there is a high demand of millennial buyers that are out there. People are falling short of realizing that there are many things causing the housing shortage, why you're not seeing the inventory hitting. And now we're starting to see things where prices are being reduced, and we just did a video on that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people out there that want to say, we're wrong in our analysis, and I'm not trying to be right or wrong. keep in mind, I'm just trying to say that I believe that there's going to be a dip when all of this starts to correct. There's going to be a dip in the prices that we've seen, and we're already seeing a cooling off in the over list price contracts and over appraised value offerings where people are putting $50,000, $60,000 of their cash over appraised value into it. We're starting to see that cool. We're seeing a lot of price reductions that are happening all around the country. So these are things to pay attention to. When this inventory starts hitting the market, we're going to see even more of that. Now, I'm not trying to say that we're having an extreme market crash, guys. Over the test of time, inventory, adjusts, and then so do prices typically go up in real estate. It is a permanence of investment. And if you want to compare some of the comments, they go, yeah, but we bought a house in 1970. Obviously, if you bought a house in 1970, you've gained appreciation. What I'm talking about, where the buyers need to be aware, is if they need to sell in the next 5 years and they're buying at the top of any market, whether it's this market or 5 years ago or before the '08 crisis, you need to pay attention because you may not be able to sell it for what you paid.
Yeah.
But let's just kind of dive in a little deeper on this chart. I couldn't do the whole, back to the 1970s and would have bored you with the information. But what I want you to see here and understand is in Q1 of 21, we were really in the height of the pandemic. So when we're looking at 4% behind in mortgages overall, here's the number that we were in Q1 of 21, obviously much higher. But what I want you to understand, the mortgage starts, even though it was a very high number, you're looking at another 50% more than what it is right now because of the pandemic. We weren't foreclosing, right? So there weren't mortgage starts. So I just want you to understand that this number is now representing, we are moving forward with foreclosures. 208,000 homes not in the for sale inventory yet that have been in foreclosure. Okay, the foreclosure, they're processing it. And if we look further, I want to go down here to Q1 of 2010 and look at this number. 10% of all the loans in the U.S., according to these, samplings of the mortgages, 10% of those were in default. Okay. Things that are, really not technically in default the way the federal government looks at it, but they were past due. So we all know that being past due is not good, right? For whatever reason. But anyway, so I just want you guys to understand the information and that we are going to start seeing foreclosure inventory. Now, Melissa, I think the important thing that we need to talk about right now is what states are being affected most.
Yeah, absolutely. The top 5 states with the 90 plus days delinquency percentage, you've got Mississippi ranked up there at the top, 2.55%. Pretty substantial. Then Louisiana, Alabama, Maryland, and even Arkansas, which is at the bottom of that top 5, 1.7%.
Yeah. And it's kind of surprising here in Maryland because we have the government and insurance are the 2 largest industries for employment. But it just goes to show you that there are a lot of people that are impacted. Some of the lower non-current percentage, so we're not really talking about the 90 plus, but they're just not current. They're past due. So some of the bottom states with non-current percentages include Montana, California, Colorado, Idaho, and Washington. And then just to go along with that, some of the top 5 states that are non-current, not 90 days delinquent, but they're at least 30 days past due. The top in that category is Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. So guys, this is kind of like a state of the delinquencies video we wanted to just kind of bring to you here. And I want to say the biggest concerns that I have, and I'm not trying to be a pessimist, I want to be on the bright side, but I think we need to be talking straight with people because it's important that we know what's going on Because if we don't have the information, we're going to make decisions based on not having certain information. And when we're talking about something like a mortgage, guys, we're talking about, or buying a house, this is a big deal. And I guess the concerns that I have, I drive a diesel truck. I just paid $7 a gallon this morning, which is disgusting. Really, I think. But it's not just that. I think we're getting into really affordability issues all around. I think that we're starting to see where, people are really starting to feel pain across the country, and the wage growth isn't keeping up with the rate of inflation. And the Fed saying that they're going to raise interest rate. I think they're stuck. I think they're stuck in a lot of ways. But I am concerned, guys, with these people that aren't paying their mortgages. So the biggest issue with foreclosure, as I had mentioned before, is a lot of people are still living in their homes. So we're dealing with backlogs of eviction processes and things like that. So, foreclosures can happen in as soon as 133 days. But depending on what state you're in, there are longer periods for evictions, evicting the people that have lost their homes. And just to give you an idea on something like that, some of the quickest states for evictions are Montana, Mississippi, West Virginia, Wyoming, and Minnesota. But there's a huge range, with Hawaii really being the longest state, along with, other states. But Hawaii is 2,578 days on average timeline to evict a tenant, the prior owner in some cases. But also some of the longest timelines include states like Louisiana, Kentucky, Nevada, and Connecticut. So just because a lot of what's happening here, what we saw in 2008 was, with the collapse of a lot of the financial institutions, a lot of mortgage companies like Countrywide, for example, that serviced, hundreds of thousands of loans, these companies that went under, the people that ended up with their portfolios couldn't foreclose because they had to find all the original loan documents in order to even foreclose. And I know people personally that lived in their house for 10 years without paying a mortgage payment before they finally ended up, getting thrown out. And then what happened was there was cash for keys. That one particular person that I know ended up getting a lot of money from the new buyer, from the bank, where, they gave him cash to get out. So he didn't pay his mortgage for 10 years. He got a bunch of cash to leave. So I think the question here is, will we be in a position, Melissa, to prop up, any kind of foreclosure activity or eviction activity? Because the big thing is now, where are these people going to go?
Right. Where are they going to go? And sure, we had, the foreclosures were huge in 2008, leading up 2010. This is nothing like that. This is a completely different
They
time.
had a lot of affordable rentals.
Yeah. Well, yes.
As a solution.
Yes.
I mean, now the rents are through the roof and, really are concerned.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time, guys. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It'll let Melissa and I know that you do. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel and you want more content from us, we'd appreciate you doing that as well.
As always, we love your comments and questions. Keep them coming. We thoroughly enjoy bringing you all this important data.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Sachs Realty, Maryland broker number 607720, office number 443-318-4514, equal housing opportunity.